The wind had returned, but it didn't howl. It whispered, not through trees, but through walls. Inside abandoned homes, it hissed softly as if rehearsing forgotten prayers. He stood outside a decaying nipa hut, and from within, he heard his own name being spoken, not screamed, just spoken, gently, as if by someone who missed him. He stepped back. The door creaked open slowly on its own. No gust pushed it, only the pressure of something unseen. Inside, dried leaves scattered on the floor began to move in a circular pattern, as if dancing to the rhythm of something breathing beneath the house. A chill ran through him, not cold, but the sensation of being remembered. Something in the house knew him. Not just his name, but how he looked as a child, how he sounded when he cried. He stumbled backward, and the house seemed to sigh in disappointment. Farther down the path, he found an overturned tricycle, its side mirror still intact. In the mirror, his reflection blinked, but he hadn't. It looked back at him with eyes slightly darker, and a small smile forming at the corner of its lips. He smashed the mirror with a rock. The sound echoed, far too long for such a small shatter. It bounced off every empty house like a warning bell, and from the corner of the road, a tall silhouette stepped out, a man, barefoot, with roots growing from his chest. The figure did not walk, it drifted, feet never touching the ground, arms limp by his side. Eyes closed, mouth murmuring what sounded like a lullaby backwards. Every step forward made the wind stop again. He turned to run, but the road behind him was gone. In its place was a corridor of trees, thick, unnaturally symmetrical. They all leaned slightly inward, forming a tunnel whose end was swallowed by dark mist. The sky above began to darken unnaturally fast, not twilight, but like ink spreading across a canvas. The birds remained frozen mid-flight above, casting no shadows, as if time itself was now offended. From deep within the mist, he heard something that didn't belong to the world. It wasn't a growl or a cry, it was the sound of something remembering pain, a sound only the land itself could make. He whispered to himself, there was never an escape. I was always meant to be here. The trees groaned in agreement, and the whispers from the bolete tree echoed the same word in countless voices, welcome. The ground felt softer now, not like mud but like flesh. He knelt and touched it. It pulsed. Beneath the soil, something ancient stirred, as if it sensed he was ready. A low chant echoed from nowhere and everywhere. The syllables were unfamiliar, but his body responded, his skin goosebumped in rhythm, and his breath matched its cadence without conscious control. The bolete's roots began to move, not wildly, but with a dancer's grace. They slithered around him, not to bind, but to cradle, like a mother welcoming back a lost child. He was lifted, weightless, and his feet no longer touched the cursed ground. From his pocket, the glowing phone buzzed again. On screen, a live video of himself, but aged older, wiser, hollow-eyed, watching him silently. His older self on the screen whispered just 2 words, say yes. He didn't know to what, but deep down, a part of him already had. He opened his mouth to reply, but no sound came out. Instead, the forest answered for him. A shudder passed through every tree, and the wind carried a collective exhale as if the woods themselves had been holding their breath. The figure with the roots in its chest stood before him again, closer this time. But now it wore his face, not as a mask, but as if his identity had peeled away and attached itself to the spirit. He reached out to touch it, and their fingers phased through one another. No impact, just merging. For a heartbeat, they shared a memory, a childhood in Sitio Julong Ilok, a voice calling from the trees, a promise never fulfilled. It was never about escape, it was about becoming. Every step he took, every whisper he heard, it wasn't a warning. It was guidance. The bolete wasn't cursing him. It was preparing him. As he entered the heart of the tree, everything stopped again. Not time, existence. The world dimmed to silence, to breath, to a heartbeat. His, now sensed with the bolete. He was not alone, he was the next whisper. Outside the tree, Sitio Julong Ilok held its breath. The river no longer flowed, the clouds no longer drifted. The village, once frozen, was now watching, listening, waiting for him to speak. Inside the tree, his consciousness expanded. He could feel every leaf, hear every lost voice trapped in the bark. The bolete wasn't haunted, it was inhabited by all those who had ever vanished here. He remembered his name, but it no longer mattered. The villagers would not remember him by that. They would remember the sound of branches scraping their roofs at night, That was him now. That was his voice. The entity that had beckoned him, his mirror self smiled from the center of the roots. It was satisfied, not evil, not good, just ancient. It reached into him, and what was left of his fear crumbled. Back in the village, the elders gathered under the moonless sky. One of them whispered, "It's done. The Balit has chosen." No one cried. No one dared look at the tree. Somewhere, the wind picked up, not violently, but like an exhale after centuries. The leaves rustled, and in them, 1,000 names echoed. His was now among them. From that night on, children born in Sitio Julong Ilog were told not to speak their names near the Balit. Names gave power, names invited recognition. And he remembered names. Tourists still came sometimes, drawn by the myth. They posed, laughed, and ignored the warnings. But sometimes when they stood too close, their phones would buzz. A video would play, their face saying, "Run, you're not alone." Most left in a hurry, a few stayed curious, reckless. Those few were never seen again. But the tree grew fuller each year, its roots deeper, its whispers louder. Now, when the wind moves through Sitio Julong Ilog, the villagers no longer call it the breeze. They simply bow their heads and say, "He's awake," and the Balit listens. If you enjoyed this story and want more dark legends and chilling tales, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and share it with a fellow horror lover. Your support helps keep the whispers alive. Thank you for watching, and remember, some legends never sleep.